Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Dave, Season 2, Episode 10. Dave is the final episode in Season 2 of Dave. If you haven't seen the show, Dave, I highly recommend you watch it because I'm going to be breaking down and spoiling the entire episode. So if you don't want to be spoiled, move along. Move along. Thank you for stopping by. But let's get it started, shall we? This episode starts off with none other than GaTa in his closet, in his studio closet, working on some of his own music, which we've seen little bits and pieces of throughout this show. And he's in his studio at his home, gets a text from Dave saying that he got a billboard. The album is out. Peanut is out. And Dave is on a billboard, and GaTa is stoked, and he's heading out to go check it all out. And as he leaves, he sees his mom at the kitchen table with his little sister and the notary. And his mom is adding his little sister to the mortgage, which doesn't make any sense to GaTa because he is the older, and he is told that it is because he is not financially stable, which GaTa's success is very closely tied to the success of Dave and his album. He is the hype man for Dave and trying to do his own thing, but a lot of that is out of his control. And he doesn't like hearing that his sister is being added to the mortgage and not him. And he leaves he's very sensitive. I love GaTa. I do. Always positive. And this is one of the rare instances where we see GaTa angry, and he storms out of the house. Cut to Dave literally strapped to the billboard. He is the T in Peanut. So he is strapped to the billboard in a Jesus pose, as it were. Mike and Benny are also there. They are down on the ground, kind of cheering Dave on. Nobody seems to care, though, that Dave is on the billboard itself. And they tell Dave to, start rapping, see if you can whip up some crowds with your rapping while you're stuck to this billboard. And so Dave does, and nothing really happens. And Mike checks his phone and sees that Ariana Grande just dropped a secret album the same day that Peanut came out. So any kind of minute attention that Dave's album would have gotten is 100% squashed and becomes as irrelevant as the billboard that's nobody is seeing because there's a secret album that's been put out, and it's not a good thing. It's bad timing all around. And even worse timing is that it starts to rain. Dave has to be rescued by the fire department to be brought down because it's starting to rain. Cut to now, it is nighttime, and GaTa is in a park selling wristbands. He is selling tickets to the record release party, the friends and family wristbands that, are meant for friends and family. GaTa trying to make some extra money, trying to sell these wristbands to a quote-unquote fan, somebody that seemingly is not much of a fan, but definitely more of somebody who is, into fame more than Dave himself, more than Little Dicky. But, GaTa's trying to make that money, and the dude talking shit about GaTa's old car, talking about how he used to have that car too when he was younger, and GaTa's still putting around in this old-ass car, which is not helping GaTa's attitude, not helping his mood, already being passed over by his mom, passed over to be in charge of the mortgage. if anything were to happen, and now there's this fan talking shit about his car. Cut to Dave and Mike are back at the label. They have a meeting, and they are not happy. They're not happy because there is seemingly no promotion for this album. There are no reviews by Pitchfork. There is no feature. It's not featured anywhere on any streaming service. And they are not happy. And then we see the people that come into this meeting, come into the room, it's not Tessa, who had previously been their go-to with the label. It is the B Squad. And they are trying to be the cheerleaders that they are, and trying to congratulate Dave for being number one, having the number one comedy album, which is just definitely not something that Dave wants to hear. Dave wants to be regarded as an artist, wants to be regarded as a authentic hip-hop voice, not as a comedian, despite the fact that comedy seems to be his go-to in every situation. They are number 91 in the billboards, which GaTa's there as well, and he's trying to be positive. It's like, oh, you're in the top 100. That's great. And, of course, Mike and Dave are not happy. They wanted to be number one, despite the fact that Ariana Grande released a secret album that same day. They're upset with how everything is going. The label is hyped up that Delaware has been doing good. The record has been tracking well in Delaware. Obviously, they're trying to find the cities that are most popular or the biggest fans of Dave for their upcoming tour, and Delaware is one of them. Dave's just pissed, though. He wants to cancel the record release party altogether, which is not what GaTa wants to hear. GaTa is trying every possible way to get selling these tickets, selling these things to try and make extra money. And if there's no after party, then that means he is going to have to deal with a lot of angry people. So GaTa is upset as well. GaTa's upset that Dave is going to ruin his little side hustle that's going on. Also, they realize that Dave's supposed to perform for the VMAs, and that performance is going to be cut down as well. It's just like bad news after bad news. And again, it is because of the Ariana Grande album. She's going to do a performance now. So because of that, his time slot is being shrunk down, which is definitely not something that's happy that Mike or Dave are happy with, and residually not making GaTa happy either.
Coming soon, a new podcast from The Ray Taylor Show, the unofficial Severance recap podcast. Mark leads a team of office workers whose memories have been surgically divided between their work and personal lives. When a mysterious colleague appears outside of work, it begins a journey to discover the truth about their jobs. Join Ray Taylor as he breaks down every episode of Season 1 of the new Apple TV show, Severance. First episode released June 7th. New episodes released every Tuesday. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube. Go to inspireddisorder.com for links. Cut to Dave at a piano, spotlight on him. You got a lamppost, a street light above. Him playing the piano, rapping one of his songs, singing one of his songs. In the background, you have a dancer with a anteater head on it. Clearly, this is a performance. Clearly, this is the VMA performance. That's, when they do the performances at these award shows, it's like a culmination of all of the songs. I don't believe it's just one song, because it definitely shifts into all these different songs, and it goes from the piano to where Dave is now strapped to a cross with electricity flying everywhere, doing very much of something, I would say, an homage to things that Kanye has done. He ends up getting stripped naked, and then put on a operating table
bringing out all of the people that are suffer from hypospadias, just as Dave has. Like, this is a giant choreographed ordeal that Dave is trying to put together for his performance on the VMAs. And he's on the table. He's getting, like, the doctor comes out and he's doing his song and they're trying to gas him up. And then you realize that this is not the actual performance for the VMAs. It's just the rehearsal. And their rehearsal is going way too long. Way too long. It's already being cut down, but it's going too long. And Dave comes up with the idea as a way for them to force the network to allow him to do a longer thing. He's going to actually get the surgery to fix his hypospadias. Like, that is the idea he comes up with. And not only to force the hand of the network to keep airing his performance, but also to get a lot of attention. I mean, Dave, former ad man, knows how to get attention, generally. Didn't go so well with the Billboard. Not every idea is a home run, but definitely a guy who understands marketing and understands how much attention that would be if he were to actually get this corrective surgery done. And surprisingly, Mike is on board as well. This episode is very surprising how much Mike is on board with everything Dave is doing. Kind of refreshing, I guess. I don't know. It just feels like things are coming together finally. I mean, they finally got this album out. Thankfully, Dave went to go to Rick Rubin. That was clearly a success. They were able to get this album put together. It's finally out. So Mike is actually, like, at the cusp of making money, and at the final stages, everything seems to be falling apart. Everything seems to be getting cut down. So it's not making Dave happy. Definitely not making Mike happy. And residually, the same with GaTa. GaTa comes in. He's got the fan club, the Little Dicky fan club that he's been selling wristbands to, bringing them in to give them a little behind-the-scenes tour. Dave, not happy about that. Not happy with all of these random people on stage while he's trying to get everything locked down and choreographed for this big moment. And GaTa's not happy because Dave kicks him out. Dave kicks GaTa out, and GaTa's not happy because he's being pushed out. He's being overlooked. He's trying to hustle, trying to do good things, trying to also help promote Dave doing this extra stuff. Not a good situation. So they go out, they're in the parking structure. GaTa is in the background listening to these so-called Little Dicky fans talking shit that GaTa can't even get Dave to, like, acknowledge anything. GaTa, frustrated, kicks the side mirror off of his car. That he hates that is the representation of him, that he's driving around in this shitty old car trying to hustle to make this extra money because Dave seemingly just doesn't care anymore. Then you have Mike and Dave later on in that same structure. They're finding out that even the tour is getting cut down, that they're having less dates, the venues are smaller. The mass insemination tour, which I think is a hilarious name for their tour, dealing with, there's a fan, just an annoying fan that, like, asks Dave, like, is angry at Dave for these wristbands that they didn't end up getting to get any kind of behind-the-scenes stuff. So Dave, trying to appease these angry fans, allows this fan to do a video of him to apologize to this dude's girlfriend, which doesn't turn out well at all. Meanwhile, Mike and Dave are trying to go over the logistics of getting this surgery, trying to find out what skin tone to make sure they match the skin tone. Mike requests a dick pic, which probably is something he never thought he would ever do, is to request to get a picture of Dave's penis for any reason, let alone to make sure that they get the right skin tone for the skin graft that's going to be done. Dave gets a call after this. He does this video for a fan. He gets a call from GaTa's mom. GaTa's mom is worried that GaTa is ramping up. Obviously, he had the outburst that earlier on with the whole mortgage thing. Apparently, GaTa went and bought a BMW. Previous episode, we saw GaTa asking Dave for money. Apparently, that's what he spent the money on, a new car. Clearly not going to be made fun of for riding around in some old car anymore. And his mom is concerned. So, of course, Dave is concerned because Dave understands that GaTa is bipolar and has these issues and can fluctuate, and he's concerned. So he's leaving, goes to GaTa's house, and you see GaTa in the yard doing his karate, clearly pumped up, doing his dance. He's listening to music in his headphones, dancing, putting on jewelry, clearly acting like he is in a manic state. But we come to find out that he is just pumping himself up because Emma is going to be shooting a music video, which earlier in the season, Emma, during the whole XXL thing, Emma offered to do GaTa's music video because she wants to be a director, and she's finally was being assertive and putting herself out there and offering to do GaTa's video because Dave at no point has asked GaTa to do a collab with him. At no point has Dave asked Emma to do anything for him. So she is going to be doing this. She's not there, so Dave doesn't really believe GaTa that that's what's happening. He thinks that he's just delusional and making it up, and he's clearly acting like it, and they get in a big argument. And GaTa is telling Dave how he's not valued, how they're not equals, right? Dave is talking shit about GaTa getting this car, but meanwhile, Dave spent all this money on a billboard, and how like ridiculous those things are. It's like they're both spending money to try and improve their image in some ways, and GaTa being shut out on every opportunity to being with Dave, having to do his own thing, is trying to blaze his own path and trying to make an image for himself. It's not looked at in the same way as what Dave has been doing. And GaTa brings up that they haven't collabed. It's like, dude, we are friends. I am your hype man. You've never once asked. Even Els earlier on in this season mentioned how when are they gonna collab together? I mean, and Dave is like, what does that mean? Like, should I call my friends and do raps with them? It's like, GaTa is a rapper as well. Come to find out that the reason why Dave hasn't asked GaTa to collab with him is that he doesn't like GaTa's music, that it's too basic and simple, and it's not what he likes. And it's like, and GaTa's like, listen, while you're in your mansion complaining about the ants, can't get inspired to do your raps, I'm in my closet every day putting in the work. Like, there is a level of work ethic that GaTa puts in to everything that Dave is just like in this fantasy world of privilege where everything is just handed to him. And GaTa's revealing that to Dave. And then Emma shows up. She went to go get a battery for her camera. She shows up, and Dave is trying to be like, can you give us a moment? We're in a thing. And because Dave is so self-centered, he doesn't realize that he is infringing on their work time, that they are there to do the music video for GaTa, and that Dave is interrupting their work.
clearly. And now a quick word from our sponsor. Now you can wear The Many Faces, original art by Ray Taylor. Select pieces from the ongoing series of abstract ink paintings. All products made with high-quality materials, made right here in the USA. Go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF merch to browse the entire collection and save yourself an extra 10% when you check out by using coupon code RTSTMF. So once again, go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF merch and save 10% when you use coupon code RTSTMF. And now, back to our show.
We also get a short hint where GaTa's sister comes in, and we are reminded that GaTa's name is Dave as well. Davionte. It was mentioned earlier in the episode. It was mentioned on the episode where everybody was at Dave's, when they were doing the performance in Philly, when they were at his parents' house, and GaTa told them his name was Davionte. So we've known GaTa's name is Dave. And we're reminded once again because they both respond when told to calm down. So Dave gets kicked out. Cut to now, it's performance time. It's VMA time. We are seeing Allie at her home, TV on, VMA's on. Knowing Lil Dicky's about to perform, she sends him a text telling him how very proud she is of him. And then we see Dave in his green room, initially going to reply with a text, but deletes that and just gives her thing a thumbs up. Very kind of, clearly still hurt from the whole thing, but gives it a thumbs up. And we cut to Mike outside of the green room talking to somebody from the label about the tour. And the person from the label is surprised that Mike isn't going to be going on tour. Mike doesn't want her to tell Dave that he will not be going on tour, which throughout the entire season it's kind of been setting up. Mike has been many times over trying to branch out and do more than just work with Dave because he knows how unreliable that whole situation is. And now even when the album comes out, how much it's fallen apart, just realizing what level they're starting off with and that he needs more and wants to do more and do different things and work with different people. So he's not going to be going on tour, but he doesn't want Dave to know. Then cut back to Allie. She is with a new boyfriend, not the guy that they matched up with in the episode with Doja Cat. That episode ended with the guy being stood up by a woman that ended up being Dave's kind of plan B for the night. He ended up swiping on Allie and matching with Allie. Not the same guy, but she is with a new boyfriend who finds it a little odd, a little bit uncomfortable that she's so excited to watch her ex-flame, her ex-boyfriend, perform. But he seems like a good guy. She seems happy, which is nice. Then we cut to Mike and Els backstage. Dave's getting ready to go perform. And Dave, for once, thanks them. And they hug. And they show some love to each other. Dave I think it's finally sunk in. Like, GaTa, his confrontation with GaTa was like the final person in everybody, out of all of the people in Dave's lives, to be putting it in Dave's face how selfish he's been. And even after the last episode where he, quote-unquote, kills his ego, still can't understand how he's treating the people around him, how little he's valued the people around him. And it seems like in that moment where he thanks Mike and Els, seems like the first time where he acknowledges the work that other people have done to get Dave to that point. And Mike gets a little bit emotional. And then we see Dave asks about GaTa, how he's doing, and they're like, don't worry about GaTa. GaTa's fine. Just worry about the performance. We don't know what happened after the music video situation. Because GaTa initially was not involved. He brought that up, that it's like he's not even involved with the performance, so why should he even be there? That's why he was doing the music video. So Dave asking about how GaTa is. And then we see GaTa, close up on GaTa. You see him emotional. You see him crying, right? Dave is about to go on stage to perform, and GaTa is crying. And then you get this intro. You get Kevin Hart introing. Oh, no, not Kevin Hart. Some other guy. I forget the rapper. I'm blanking on his name. But he intros Little Dicky. GaTa's crying. You see in the crowd, Dave's parents are sitting next to Benny Blanco out in the crowd. And first on stage, after Little Dicky's announced the song is starting, the first person to come on stage is GaTa. Complete surprise. Not only is Dave not doing the performance that he rehearsed, but apparently has a song. They had a song ready to go where Dave and GaTa, the two Daves, really perform. And it's a great song about them, and they're performing together. And initially watching that moment in this episode, I was crying. If you go back and you watch my review of season 2 of Dave, I cry in the review. So emotional. Because you don't know that GaTa is part of the performance. You think that he's just like back at home in his studio, right? Which we actually also saw Emma, while she's editing the music video, takes a break to watch the performance. And it's like all of these people that have helped Dave get to this point are watching him about to perform. GaTa's crying, and I think initially he's crying because he's been overlooked and he's not going to be a part of it. And it flips, and he's the first one out, and they have a great, they do their performance, and then it kind of cuts to them on tour, starting with Delaware, the place where the album was doing the best, and you see this montage of the two Daves doing their performances together, and it's a great ending to the like, it feels like, I mean, it's very last minute how, like, it seems like Dave finally came to the realization that the people around him are responsible for why he has any success, that it's not just him, that it's a collective effort. And by having GaTa so prominently as like the focus of that performance, showing GaTa how much he loves him. And you think that he would have realized that from his crazy dream where in the last episode where he's cutting the arm off of GaTa because he has nothing to offer these critics, so he's going to take from GaTa. You would think that he would come out of that situation with a different perspective than he has in this episode. But at the end, it seems like it finally clicked, and he finally had that moment of clarity. And I think a great end to a rough season. Season 1 of Dave, comedy. Season 2, anxiety and stress and disappointment. But in the end, I think brings it all back. Very emotional ending to the season, and I am excited for season 3 whenever they finally release that. And I will continue to do these episode breakdowns when season 3 does get released. Hopefully, I'll be doing them as they're released if schedule lines up. So that's it. That is the end of my Dave episode by episode breakdown and recap. I hope everybody enjoyed this experiment of me trying to break down each episode of Dave. If you want to, I have also done episode breakdowns of Squid Game. I've done episode breakdowns of Ted Lasso, and I will be starting a new episode breakdown of the show Severance. So that will be taking the place of this show every Tuesday starting next week, which you can subscribe to, has its own podcast feed over on all podcast apps and YouTube and all that. But I will be back with this show when Dave comes back with new episodes. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.